Hi Mom, it's me, Tricia. I know you're watching, so I just wanted to let you know that this show is all about you because I made you your baby book. The rest of you just come along as well. I'm going to show you how I made it. Well, I don't really know how you could possibly be surprised, but we are making a book again today, and I do love books. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time going over the materials that I use to make my books. Now, this board right here, I generally call chipboard, and it's used as a stabilizer. This actually happens to be the back of a cracker box. So you'll start to see a lot more potential in your pantry when you start to make a lot of books. But this is a very, very thin material. You can cut it with a scissors. Now this next one, I call it mat board. And if you think about a picture frame and the material that would go inside of that to mat a photo, that's what this is like. And it's thick enough that it's difficult to cut with scissors, but you can actually cut it with a Tonic large base trimmer quite easily. So this is what I'm using for this project. It's about the medium thickness. And then the heaviest, this is a little bit harder to find, I call this book board. It's 1/8 of an inch thick, and I use this for a lot of structural projects like boxes and really heavier hard-covered journals and books that I want to really be elegant. And so this is the 1/8 inch book board. This you can cut with a really highly industrial trimmer or a mere 16 passes of the craft knife. Now, in planning the book that I wanted to make for my mom, I decided I wanted a unique format. I wanted it to be 6 by 12. So I cut my 6 by 12 mat boards with my trimmer, and I stared at them for a while because I thought if I really want this to be 6 by 12, I would need a 13.5 inch piece of paper to wrap around this cover. Well, I wanted it to be easier than that because I want you to be able to create this book for yourself. So here's what I did. I turned it sideways. Now my covers are horizontal. And then I trimmed a 3/4 inch by 6 inch spine, and now my book will open horizontally. To cover this, I used, believe it or not, 8.5 by 11 papers. And these beautiful papers come from Club Scrap's Generation collection. And I loved the soft black color with this pink print. I thought it would be perfect for Mom's baby book. So here's how I laid it out. This would be the front cover, then the spine cover, and then it'll be the back cover, so they're the same. And then my spine piece will go in the center right here. And when I place my books on top and it's all glued into place, everything fits perfectly. Isn't that great? Then you'll follow instructions that I've shared with you many times before on how to properly glue and wrap the flaps over on a hardbound book like this, especially that Make the Grade episode. You'll want to watch that to review this if you think that you need to, especially if this is your first book. So once those outside covers are wrapped and glued, then you'll add your inside cover here and over the spine, and let me just show you what that will look like when it's finished. Here's our front cover wrapped beautifully. When I open it, here's my inside cover, my spine cover, and then this is the spot where the inside pages will go. And speaking of inside pages, let me show you how I made those. For the inside pages, I decided to use more papers from that Generations paper collection because they're so perfect. I love this raised print on that soft black, and then the green with this elegant border. I mean, this is really perfect for a 1930s baby. I know, Mom. Anyway, what I did was I trimmed those 12 by 12 papers down to 6 by 12. And then I simply added a score line 1 inch from the left edge of each paper. And that's going to be where my pages will fold in and out when I use the book. And then I made some special cutting because I decided I thought it would be cool if the pages had an oval shape to them. Now to do that, I'm using Tonic's Shape Mate system. And these are the oval shapes. Those are a little bit harder to find. And they come in several different sizes in this handy reclosable bag. Also, the ovals are nested and stored onto this single strip that keeps them all organized. And for me, trust me, it's a good thing. Then I will use a cutting mat. Now this cutting mat is a tempered glass, also from Tonic Studios, and it's got all different quadrants for almost every need we could have, plus it's a 0 center. And on the outside 4 corners of this mat, there are protective corners that can hold it in place, but I'm going to remove those because I'm working with a larger format of paper. Now, even though I've removed these corners, there are still a set of rubber feet on the bottom of this mat that will hold it perfectly in place while I'm working, because you do need that grip. Now, what I'm going to do is take my 6 by 12 dark green paper from that collection, and it already has a score line. I'm going to turn that so it's right side up for me. Normally I work right side up for you. So I'm going to take the largest oval and place it on my paper so that the edge of the oval is at the edge of the paper, just with a little bit of room there. And line it up centered from top to bottom. And next I'm going to take the cutting tool. Now this is the tool that has a ridge right here that corresponds with the thickness of all the shapes in the ShapeMate system. Now there's the blade, and you can see that this will pop in and out so you can replace it when you need a sharp one. When you put pressure on this tool, the blade is exposed to your paper. So just make sure you're putting firm pressure as you go around. Take a look at where the blade is going to be, which is by that point of the triangle right there. And I'm going to place my blade right at the tip of that top score line. All right, so now I'm going to put firm pressure on this cutting tool with one hand while I have firm pressure on the template on the other. And I'll just pull around. The shape template will keep it right in place. And I'll bring it around to the back and stop the minute I see the point of that cutting tool make contact with the other score line on this side of the paper. Now I'll lift that up, and I need to make one other little cut. This time I'm going to do it with a ruler and a craft knife. Now this cutting mat is the same stuff, tempered glass, is what they make windshields out of. So it's very, very durable and great for cutting. So I'll make a little slit along that score line up until I reach where I started cutting. And I'll do the same at the bottom, make one final cut, and the piece is removed. So this I can set aside, and this will be the first oval page of my album. Next, I'll take the next smallest size of the oval shapes, and I need to center it on this beautiful shade of berry paper. So I'm going to make sure that the center of my oval is on the center line on the mat. Keep in mind there are rubber feet on the bottom of each of these shapes, and that does help keep it from moving when you're cutting. And then one last little turn, stop at the score line, and coming back with our ruler and our craft knife, I'll set it on the score line again. This time my slit will be a little longer. I'm stopping where my blade ended with the oval shape, and I've removed another portion of an oval. Now this oval is slightly smaller than the first one, and let me show you how these pages will stack. You can see if I lay this one on top, I've got a perfect tiered page. And now, the magic of television, I've gone ahead and trimmed 2 more oval pages using the next size smaller of each oval shape. Also, just so that you're aware, you can cut with your blade on the outside of the shape or on the inside of the shape for different sized ovals. Now for the bottom page of the book, here's the 6x12 black with the raised printing, and I just wanted this to be as it was. So that gets attached here. Now is the time for the binding part of our book, and I think you'll be a little surprised at what I decided to do next. You might think I got out some needle and thread, or I just did something complicated, but no, I didn't. Let me show you what I made. This is the complete version of that berry print that I used for one of the pages in the book. And on this edge of the print is this sweet little polka dotted border. So I trimmed this out at 2 1/8 inches, and I put 2 score lines on this piece so that I could make a little bit of a spine. So there's 1 inch on either side and an 1/8 inch spine. Then I attached the spine, made a little sandwich so all my pages go inside this little piece that I made. And just hold it in place and pick a spot. Now my spot for my first staple is going to be right at the edge of this curved line. And then holding it firmly, I'll just go to the corresponding area on this side and give it a staple. So what I decided to do was cover those staples with some nail heads that came right in the Generations kit. And here they are. The tops are really decorative. It has these nice little prongs on here that you can put it on top of the staple, give it a hammer, of course not with glass beneath your hammer, and then your prong will be set in place, and this will be ready to put into your book. Now just for the moment, I'm going to set this aside and add one more thing to my book cover. And again, this is something that I always forget to do, and it's so important. It's just a nice little touch. I wanted to add a carrying handle to the spine of my book because, of course, Mom's going to want to bring this everywhere she goes, right, Mom? Okay, so I'm using a punch here, and I'll just punch a hole right into the spine, same distance from the edge on each side. And there's no science to this. You can put this hole wherever you want, or you can skip it all together. It's entirely up to you. It'll be your book, or your mom's book. And then I just took a piece of velvet ribbon, catch it from the other side. You can just thread it through as far as you need, and then just tie a simple little knot, and then pull it through to the other side, and bring it through and tie another knot. Now you might be worried about the length of the handle, so you can decide that kind of as you go. And when I open this up again, this is the spot where the book is going to go. You'll apply bookbinding adhesive to the back of the book pages and put them in place, and then your book is ready to decorate. Now, Mom, I know you're dying to see what I did, so let's take a little tour of your baby book. And there she is. Isn't she sweet? Oh, Mom. Anyway, I remember Grandma telling me that this little dress, that she made it and it was red. So luckily it's in black and white and it matches perfectly with the paper I've selected. Okay, so I've embellished this just a little bit, nothing too crazy, a little satin ribbon and then a title strip, part of the Generations collection, and then matted it with some paper, but that was pretty simple. Now on the inside, another small embellishment on the inside cover, and then check out how cool these pages looked when they were decorated. That's just so sweet. And the quote here that I've punched from the die cuts says, "This is where our story begins," and indeed it does. And then I open it, and there she is with a big grin with some fun stickers here and some ribbons, and I stapled these ribbons right in place, and it looks very sweet. And I've even cut a little area in the print here and attached a die cut. Where does your story begin? Mom, we can talk about that. Okay, so here we have just some additional embellishments, some more pictures of Mom. And I love seeing like the old-fashioned buggy and Grandma right there in the picture. And here we have, I think every baby has to have a picture in the tub. And there you are, Mom. I hope this wasn't life's most embarrassing moment. Anyway, I really hope that you will give this a try. I'm sure your mom would love something like this. But before we go, let me just show you one little circular variation. Here we have an unfinished book, but instead of using the oval shapes, I used the circle shapes, and I cut them randomly into this book. I've got a lot more real estate, and I can really have a lot of fun with decorating this one too. Hey, do you want this book? You can make a baby book for me. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
For step-by-step instructions on how to create this week's project, download the design guide featuring special make-it-your-own bonus tips.